Hello, my friends. I want to share a little bit about why I find it so important that we take the time to go in, to drop in away from the 3D mental matrix, mind matrix, and drop in to who and what we truly are. The heart is is an easier entry point because we can really feel it. There is a sensation of love, of expansion, of warmth when we go in there. So it's a nice portal to enter through and then connect to the field. So, why that is so important is that when you drop into that place and you really connect with it, it's almost like you bypass your false identity, called, in my case, Pernilla. That whole false identity, you can bypass it. And I'm not talking about a spiritual bypass, that's a whole different story. But when I'm in here, connecting with the divine, whatever name you want to call it, this becomes very ephemeral. It becomes very unreal. It's like taking out the charge of it. The charge is what keeps us engaging in it um, with our emotions, with our attachments, with our unresolved emotions, basically, that are still living in here, and we cannot bypass them. But when we go into a meditation, we can bypass it for a while to connect with something deeper. I would say you don't want to you don't want to bypass this unresolved stuff. But in order to connect with the divine, we need to create a space where we are not engaging with the world and instead put our attention on the inner. And from there, then it can start expanding out, and we are connected to a much bigger field that is, it's much more real, even though not to our five senses, but to our soul sense. We connect into who and what we really are. And I find that so important. It has always been important, but the way the world is now, it's almost like most people are caught in some kind of a spider web. And they're stuck in it and they're fighting it and they're blaming. And it's imagine this is a web and you need to get out of it because there is no solution in there. There's just this crazy stuff going on where people are stuck in this web. You can call it an emotional web for sure, or a mental web for sure. And especially when we have all these attachments inside that are still unresolved, the attachments will drive us further into the web. And then we think that, you know, changing the web will help us find peace. Well, it won't. And I think I've said that a number of times. It cannot. The only thing we can do is to, if we want to do therapy or coaching or any kind of healing modalities, that is to get the stickiness of the web, that we unhook from that and liberate our energy so we can take that to another place in here, connected to everything, because that's where the peace and the love already exists. It's not out there. The more we do this, and again, from my own experience, the more I do this, the more this becomes really unreal and very, very uninteresting. I'm kind of laughing because people are so like, woo, and talking about it. And I was with some friends yesterday, and they're all hooked into the system, the web, and talking and arguing, and what they said, and and all this energy. And I'm just kind of sitting back a little bit and just observing it, and kind of finding it a little crazy, to be honest with you. Why would you waste your time on what he said, she said, they did, all these things, unless there is some kind of a solution you bring to it? Then it's like, okay, well, let's look at this, and how can we do it differently without the emotional attachments, without the arguing, the battling, but bringing this place of peace and solution, which is the solution, to it, so that things might actually show up in a different way without all the problems. But we do need to bypass it enough for long enough so that we can start connecting into who we truly are and feeling it. It's a feeling. There's a peace, there's a something that shifts when we connect with that. And that's because we drop out of the mind, which is the matrix, which is what is projected out in the world. So we need to drop out of the mind where all this is happening and into the place where all this is not happening. There's something totally different happening. And that is what we all long for. It's kind of maybe a little cut and dry today, but it's kind of like that. And the more we spend time in here as who we are, connected to our hearts, to the field, to the kingdom of heaven all over the earth, the more we connect with that, the less we're interested in that. You go like, oh my God, I don't want to do another battle out there. But I also know that because of the emotional attachment, and a lot of it is fear. As long as there's a lot of fear, we do want to go out there because we're hooked in the survival mode. And then we don't think about stopping and meditating and being quiet. We're just on the run, to survive. And that's how the matrix is set up. Now, there is a lot of fear that has been thrown at us for many years. And that fear keeps pulling you out of the peace and in here, and then see what's going on. I need to follow it, and I need to do something. And is it safe? And what if this happens? You see, all your energy goes out there because of fear. The fear is pumped into us. That is called programming. And we are all programmed to be afraid, to be divided, to be separate from who we truly are. This is who we truly are. And it's not easy to separate ourselves from the matrix, but it is possible. And I think it is probably one of the most important things we all need to consider, because everything is falling apart out there. I don't see things getting rosy in the next month or two. It looks like a lot of things need to break down. And this is not a scare tactic. This is just a reality check that this out here is an expression, a projection of our own mind, which is based on fear. So if we want to change it out there, we need to go inside and dismantle the fear, the lack of love, the lack of self-love. And we do that with love. We don't dismantle fear with a gun or a knife or anything like that. We dismantle fear by meeting the fear in the experience, and we start having a connection and like almost like conversation with the fear. Find out, well, what are you so afraid of? What needs to happen? And then you find the answers, the solutions that the fear needs, so it can start relaxing And then it sends out less energy out to the world. Instead, there is a sense of relaxation or peace, and that starts radiating out because that is what is experienced inside. So I am voting for peace and love, disconnecting from the matrix, reaching out for help, for assistance, support if you need it. And I do believe we all do. I certainly do it when I feel the need for it. Not as much as I used to. I used to do a lot of the deeper work, and I know a lot of you are doing that. But also spend time, when you have certain realizations about yourself, then also take time that now you have more space. Let that liberated energy in. Make that your focal point to let that start informing you how you can maybe become more of that, how you can let that new energy take over your life in a way that can never happen out there. So here we are, unhooking from the matrix and then hooking into our divinity, the peace, the presence, the silence inside. We can do this. And I would say we have to do this if we want a different experience.